What I'm about to tell you may be the single most important thing you hear this year about your health. Because the number one way to stop colon cancer is not a vitamin, not a supplement, not a trendy food, and not even the healthiest breakfast in America. It is something far more powerful, and it can actually stop cancer before cancer even starts. I'm Dr. Michael Joel, and if you stay with me, I'm going to show you why thousands of older Americans miss the one step that could save their lives. Please subscribe right now because this channel helps seniors stay healthier, safer, and more confident with simple truths explained clearly. Here's what makes this so dangerous. Colon cancer is quiet. It does not announce itself with flashing lights. It does not politely warn you early. In many people, it grows silently for years while they feel fine, eat normally, drive to church, babysit grandchildren, mow the lawn, and tell themselves everything must be okay because nothing hurts.
That is exactly why so many good people in places like Ohio, Florida, and Texas get blindsided. They waited for symptoms. They watched their diet. They assumed they were being careful. But the real protection they needed was something else entirely. And I'm going to reveal it in a way you will never forget. Let me tell you about Carol from Fort Wayne, Indiana, because her story shows you the whole problem in one painful moment. Carol was 72, organized, active, and proud of how well she took care of herself. She walked her neighborhood every morning, ate oatmeal, kept her doctor appointments, and rarely missed a day of movement. She had no stomach pain, no bleeding, no dramatic warning sign. So when her doctor reminded her again about colon screening, she almost skipped it. She said, "I feel perfectly fine." But when she finally went in, they found a large precancerous polyp. Not cancer yet, but getting closer, much closer than she ever imagined.
That is the terrifying part almost nobody explains clearly enough. Colon cancer often begins as a growth called a polyp. It can sit there for years, changing slowly, silently, quietly. During that time, you may feel completely normal. Your energy may seem normal. Your appetite may seem normal. Your bathroom habits may look close enough to normal that you don't pay attention. And while you're waiting to feel something, that polyp may be moving in the wrong direction. This is why the absolute best prevention is not guessing, not hoping, not assuming. Real prevention means finding trouble before it becomes cancer. That changes the entire conversation, and it changes your odds. But before I tell you the number one best way, I need to clear away the half-truths that confuse so many seniors. Because there are things that do help lower risk, and you absolutely should do them, but they are not the strongest shield by themselves. People hear about fiber and think that's enough. They hear about walking and think that's enough. They give up cigarettes or lose 10 pounds and think, good, I handled it. Those steps matter. I want you to take them seriously. But if you stop there, you may still miss the one action that can actually find a dangerous polyp and remove the problem before it gets the chance to become a life-changing diagnosis. Take Gerald from Scottsdale, Arizona. Gerald was 69, a retired postal worker, and one of the most disciplined men you could meet. He played 9 holes of golf twice a week, walked his dog every evening, kept his weight in a decent range, and drank very little. If you looked at Gerald's life from the outside, you would say he was doing everything right. And in many ways, he was. But when he finally had a screening test after putting it off for years, doctors found polyps in his colon. He was stunned. He said, "How can that be? I exercise more now than I did at 50. The answer is simple. Exercise helps reduce risk. It does not let you see inside your colon. That distinction matters more than people realize. A healthy lifestyle lowers risk on the front end. It makes the odds better. It helps your heart, your blood sugar, your mobility, your brain, and yes, it can help lower colon cancer risk too. But it cannot identify a silent polyp. It cannot tell you whether something abnormal has already started growing. So when someone tells you, I'm active, so I'm probably okay, I want you to hear the danger in that sentence. Probably is not protection. Probably is not prevention. The body can be doing many things right, while one hidden spot in the colon is doing something terribly wrong. That is why lifestyle alone is never enough. Then there's diet, which people love to turn into a magic answer. Let me tell you about Linda from Macon, Georgia. Linda was 74 and the queen of healthy groceries. Her kitchen looked like a nutrition commercial. Apples on the counter, salads in the refrigerator, whole grain toast in the morning, grilled chicken at lunch. She had cut back hard on bacon, sausage, and deli meat. And she was proud of it. And she should have been. Those changes were smart. But when her screening was finally done, doctors still found a suspicious growth that had to come out. Linda learned the hard way that eating well is wise. But eating well is not the same thing as making sure nothing dangerous is growing where you cannot feel it. Now, I do want to be fair here. What you put in your body matters. Diets that lean more toward fruits, vegetables, and whole grains appear to help. Carrying too much weight can raise risk. Smoking is a problem. Heavy alcohol use is a problem. Too much processed meat is a problem. Those are real issues, and I never want you to ignore them. But none of them changes the central truth. Even a person with a decent diet can develop polyps. Even a person who cooks at home can develop polyps. Even a person who doesn't really have stomach issues can develop polyps. So if you build your whole prevention plan around food alone, you are building it on only part of the truth. And then we have the fiber myth. This one is especially common with older Americans because it sounds so reasonable. If my bowels are regular, I must be protecting my colon. I understand why people think that. Fiber is good for digestion. It can help constipation. It may help lower risk as part of a healthier pattern overall. But regular bowel movements are not proof that your colon is clear. They are not a screening test. A person can have an advancing polyp or even a cancer and still use the bathroom every day. So please do not let "I stay regular" become the sentence that talks you out of the one step that truly checks what is happening inside. Another dangerous misunderstanding is the symptom trap. So many people tell themselves they will act only if they see blood, only if they lose weight, only if pain shows up, only if something feels obviously wrong. That sounds practical, but it is actually backwards. By the time symptoms appear, the conversation may already have shifted from prevention to treatment. That is not where you want to be. Prevention happens before the drama. Prevention happens while you still feel normal. Prevention happens when the problem is still small enough to remove quietly before it takes over your calendar, your family conversations, your sleep, and your peace of mind. Waiting for symptoms is like waiting for smoke after the fire has already started. And then there is the family history excuse, which sounds like this. Nobody in my family had colon cancer, so I'm probably not the one who needs to worry. I hear that all the time. But many Americans who get colon cancer do not come from families where it was already obvious. Yes, family history matters. Yes, inherited syndromes matter. And yes, if your parent, brother, sister, or child had colon cancer or advanced polyps, your doctor may want earlier or more frequent screening. But no family history does not mean no risk. Age itself matters. The years matter. The silent buildup over time matters. That is why adults in their 60s, 70s, and beyond cannot afford to let reassurance become carelessness. Let me tell you about Frank from Toledo, Ohio, because his biggest obstacle wasn't denial. It was embarrassment. Frank was 71, tough as nails, former factory supervisor, the kind of man who would fix a leaking pipe before calling anybody. But when colon screening came up, he got uncomfortable fast. He didn't want to talk about bowel prep. He didn't want to talk about the procedure. He definitely didn't want to talk about what might be found. So he kept putting it off. 1 year became 3, then 3 became 5. By the time he finally admitted to me that fear was the real reason, he looked exhausted just saying it out loud. That is how avoidance works. It steals time quietly while pretending to protect your dignity. So let's start moving toward the truth. There are several ways doctors screen for colon cancer. Some are stool-based tests that can be done at home. Those can be helpful, especially for people who need an easier starting point. They can pick up hidden blood or certain abnormal signals. That matters. That can save lives. But here's the part many people miss. Those tests are excellent for screening, but if one comes back abnormal, you still need a colonoscopy to finish the job. In other words, the home test may raise the alarm, but it usually cannot remove the reason for the alarm. That distinction is everything when we are talking about actual prevention. A colonoscopy is different because it lets a doctor examine the entire colon with a camera and in many cases remove polyps right then and there. That is the key, not just seeing, removing, not just spotting danger, but taking action before danger turns into a cancer diagnosis. Flexible sigmoidoscopy can examine part of the colon. CT colonography can create images and spot abnormalities. Stool tests can detect warning signs. But colonoscopy occupies a special place because it can directly find and remove many precancerous polyps during the same screening process. That is why when we talk about prevention rather than just early detection, the conversation gets very serious very quickly. Now let me tell you about Marvin from Tampa, Florida, because Marvin nearly learned this lesson too late. Marvin was 67, a Vietnam veteran, proud, funny, stubborn, and absolutely determined not to get a colonoscopy. He kept saying the prep sounded worse than anything the doctor could possibly find. So instead, he agreed to an at-home stool test just to end the argument. It came back abnormal. Suddenly, the conversation changed. Suddenly, this was real. He had the colonoscopy, and doctors found a large adenomatous polyp that was on a dangerous path. They removed it. Marvin later told his daughter, "That one decision may have saved my life." He was right. The test did not just detect a threat, it interrupted it. And now we've arrived at the answer the whole video has been building toward. The number one absolute best way to prevent colon cancer is to get screened on schedule. And for many adults, especially when your doctor says it fits your situation, colonoscopy is the most powerful version of that protection because it can find and remove precancerous polyps before they turn into cancer. That is not hype. That is not marketing. That is the real mechanism of prevention. Exercise helps. Good food helps. Weight control helps. But screening is what actually gives you a chance to catch the trouble while it is still quiet, small, and removable. That is why it sits at number one. I need you to really understand why this matters, because this is the part most people never hear explained in simple language. Colon cancer often develops slowly. A small abnormal growth can sit there for years. During that window, if a screening test finds it and a colonoscopy removes it, the chain is broken. The story changes. The future changes. You are not waiting for cancer to appear so you can fight it. You are stopping the setup before the fight even begins. That is why regular screening is so much more than checking for cancer. It is one of the rare situations in medicine where the screening itself can help prevent the disease by dealing with the precancerous stage. And that is exactly why delay is so costly. People think I'll do it next year. But next year becomes the next holiday season, then after the wedding, then after the trip to Branson, then after the grandkids finish school. And before you know it, the window that could have protected you has been left open too long. From the time the first abnormal cells start to form into polyps, it can take many years for them to become cancer. That sounds comforting at first, but it should actually create urgency. It means you are given a chance to intervene, a precious chance. And every time you postpone screening, you are gambling with a window you may never get back. Now let's talk age, because this matters enormously for your audience. In the United States, average risk adults are advised to begin colorectal screening at 45, and routine screening is strongly recommended through age 75. From 76 to 85, the decision becomes more individualized based on your overall health, your prior screening history, and your preferences. That means if you are in your late 70s and healthy, and especially if you were never properly screened before, this conversation may still matter a great deal. And if you have higher risk because of family history, inflammatory bowel disease, or certain inherited syndromes, the plan can start earlier or happen more often. This is why personal medical guidance matters. Elaine from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is the perfect example. Elaine was 78, sharp as ever, independent, still driving, still volunteering at the church pantry, still running circles around people 10 years younger. She assumed screening was behind her because she was older now, but she had never had a full colonoscopy. Her doctor looked at her overall health and said, Elaine, we need to talk about this based on you, not just a birthday. She agreed. During the procedure, they found polyps that needed removal. Her daughter later told me with tears in her eyes, we almost skipped the thing that may have given us more years with mom. That is why individualized decisions can matter so much after 75. Now, I know what some people are thinking. Doctor, I'm not afraid of the result. I'm afraid of the prep. Fair enough. The prep is the part nobody writes songs about. It is inconvenient. It can be unpleasant. You may spend an evening very close to your bathroom. But let me say something plainly. A miserable prep day is better than months of scans, surgery, chemotherapy, weakness, weight loss, and fear. One hard day can protect years of your life. And most people who finally get through it say the dread beforehand was worse than the reality. They build it up in their minds, then afterward they wish they had done it sooner. That is the honest truth I hear again and again. Some people worry about sedation or the procedure itself. Others worry about cost. Those are understandable concerns, and you should absolutely talk them through with your own doctor. But please do not let vague fear make the decision for you. Ask direct questions. Which screening option is best for me? If I choose a stool test, what happens if it is positive? If I am due for a colonoscopy, what should I expect? If I am on blood thinners, how do we handle that? If I have heart or kidney issues, what prep is safest? And if you are on Medicare, ask about coverage, because screening colonoscopies and follow-up after certain positive non-invasive tests may be covered. Clarity reduces fear. There is something else I need to say, and I want you to hear it very carefully. If you already have symptoms such as rectal bleeding, a major change in bowel habits, unexplained weight loss, belly pain that keeps hanging around, or new unexplained fatigue, that is not the moment to say, I'll get screened someday. That is the moment to call your doctor promptly. Screening is for people without symptoms. Symptoms shift the conversation toward evaluation and diagnosis. So yes, the number one best way to prevent colon cancer is regular screening before symptoms begin. But once your body starts waving a red flag, do not wait for a routine plan. You need timely medical attention, not casual reassurance. And if you already had a normal colonoscopy in the past, that does not mean you need to panic. It means you need to know your schedule. For many average risk adults, a colonoscopy may be repeated every 10 years. Stool tests are done more often. Stool DNA testing has a different timeline. Flexible sigmoidoscopy has a different timeline. The right interval depends on what was found before, your family history, your age, and your overall health. So the message is not everybody rush out and do the exact same thing tomorrow. The message is know where you stand, know when you are due, and do not let that date drift by while life distracts you. Let me bring this home emotionally, because this is not just about anatomy and guidelines. This is about time. It is about whether you are here for your granddaughter's graduation in Columbus. It is about whether you make that road trip through Tennessee with your spouse next fall. It is about whether you get more ordinary mornings, more coffee on the porch, more Sunday dinners, more baseball games with your grandson, more Christmas photos where you are still in the middle of everybody. That is what prevention protects, not just your colon, your life, your routines, your presence. And too many people lose those years, not because help was unavailable, but because the right step was delayed. So let's say it exactly the way it needs to be said. Walking is good, but it is not number one. Eating more vegetables is good, but it is not number one. Losing weight is good, quitting smoking is good, limiting alcohol is good, and paying attention to family history is good. Do those things. Please do them. But if we are ranking what most powerfully prevents colon cancer, the top answer is regular screening, because screening can find the precancerous stage before cancer ever gets the chance to claim ground. And when colonoscopy is the right option for you, it becomes especially powerful because the doctor can remove many of those dangerous polyps during the process itself. Here is the practical move I want your viewer to make after this video. First, ask one simple question. Am I up to date on my colon cancer screening? Second, if the answer is no, or I'm not sure, call your doctor's office this week, not someday, this week. Third, if you are over 75, ask whether screening still makes sense based on your health and what you have or have not had done before. Fourth, if you are afraid, say that out loud. Say, I'm worried about the prep, or I'm embarrassed, or I'm scared of what they'll find. Because once fear is spoken, it becomes something your medical team can help you manage. I want to finish with Robert from Waco, Texas, because his story says everything. Robert was 73, and after years of dodging this subject, he finally had a serious talk with his son. His son said, "Dad, I don't need you pretending you're not worried. I need you around." That hit him hard. Robert got screened. Doctors found a precancerous lesion and removed it before it became the sentence that would have changed his whole family. Months later, Robert told me, "I thought screening was about looking for bad news. I didn't realize it was my chance to stop bad news." That is the message. Screening is not surrender. Screening is strategy. Screening is protection. So if you remember only one thing from this video, let it be this. The number one absolute best way to prevent colon cancer is not guessing, not waiting, not hoping your healthy habits are enough. It is getting screened on time and following through with the test that is right for you. That single decision can change your future before symptoms ever appear. If this message helped you, share it with someone you love, because one conversation can push a person to make the appointment that protects their life. And if you've been putting this off, let today be the day you stop postponing your peace of mind. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.